Welcome, everybody. Today is Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the Omer. It is the celebration of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, in which Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wrote the Holy Zohar, and he said on the day that he passes away should be a day of celebration because the greatest secrets of the Torah were revealed to him on that day, and everything that he did throughout his life was elevated all in that one day. And every year on the 33rd day of the Omer, he said that it should be a day of celebration in his honor, and many thousands of people travel to his resting place in Miran, in the north of Eretz HaKodesh, of the Holy Land, and in the city of Miran. It's about 15-20 minute drive from Tzfas, from Sefer. And people in America, there's a inyan to go to the oil, in which all resting places of righteous people are connected. It's in a way, by going to the oil over here in America, we are also going to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and honoring Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Now, one of the themes that came up is that there were certain people that wanted to sabotage Judaism, and the way they wanted to sabotage Judaism from the eyes of small children is they said, we don't want to call the names of the Hebrew letters. We don't want to teach the names of the Hebrew letters. That way they would be able to be disrespectful to the letters and sort of create that disrespect in the eyes of the children. Just teach the children only the sounds and don't teach them the names. It's sort of like in English, if you would say, don't call it a H-I-J-K, an H and an I and a J and a K. Just call it a K and a J. Don't call it an I, call it an E, right? And they said, oh, you're wasting the children's time by teaching this extra things. But actually, it didn't work. It's important to teach the names of the letters first, and then teach them the sounds. Now, the sounds also have their holiness, but first it's important to teach the names. Now, it happens to be that in Lashon HaKodesh, in the Holy Tongue, the names of the letters also have a meaning, and often you will see intuitively that the meaning of the name is actually hidden in the letter. It's actually hidden in the physical letter. So by teaching the child the name of the letter and then explaining how that name is hinted in the shape of the letter, we're actually teaching life lessons to the kids. In other words, before they're learning how to read, they're learning the life lessons, holy life lessons in the letters, and then only then afterwards we teach them the sounds and how to put everything together and how to read. So I have over here is a piece of parchment in my hand, that I wrote the letters down using a feather and quill. And sometimes when I wasn't happy with the letter, I just rewrote it a second time. So it's written with ink, feather, and quill on real parchment. And I will show you each letter. And so these are the letters. These are the letters. And I'm going to show you, first we're going to focus on each letter, the first one. And we'll tell you what its name is. And then we'll go through right over here, the first one on top of my finger. That is called an Aleph. And an Aleph in Hebrew means to teach. And what you see over there is a little like handle with an antenna on top. Then and what that is, and then there is like a diagonal line in between. And then there's a little handle on the bottom, a little yud, we call it a yud, little handle on the bottom. And what that Aleph learning means is in order to learn. It has like an antenna, which symbolizes the idea of grabbing a high idea from the top and bringing it down. What it means is that it's that the higher that antenna it represents the idea of God, because God's name starts with that small letter, and in between represents the Torah, and on the bottom is a little yud representing the person. So what's the interface to connect to God? You connect to God through the Torah. Through studying Torah and behaving like the Torah, it's an interface to connect us to the infinite, to God. So that is what an Aleph is. Now, some of these things, this is actually what I just said is written clearly in a Hayom Yom. Some of them are clearly written and others are intuitive. Now, the next letter, right on top of my finger, the next one next to it, that is a base, especially when it has a dot inside it. It's a base. When it doesn't have a dot inside it, like you see over here, it would be a base. So what is a base? So take a look carefully. The meaning of the word base, the translation of the word means house. The translation of the word means house. And so what is the house of God? So the line at the bottom represents the earth. The line on the top represents the heavens, the sky. And then there's a line connecting the earth to the sky. So our mission in the world is to connect the heavens and the earth. That the heavens represent the spirituality, and the earth represents physicality. And the meaning of the word base means a bias, a house. We're meant to make the heavens and the earth a house, a home for God by connecting spirituality and physicality. How do we do that? We already know that's through the Torah. So the second letter already gives us our mission. Now we're going to go to the third letter. Well, let's get more details. And this third letter is called a Gimmel. And a Gimmel has a little head, has a foot, and then it has something sticking out. And what the word Gimmel means like the word Goimel. It's similar to the word Goimel, which means to give over, to bestow. Now, that little package by the foot, that's really it's really like a little man holding a package, and he's going to deliver a package. So that is the idea of goimel, of bestowing, of giving, to the next letter, which is dalet. Dalet looks like a person bent over, a person that is humble, a person that may be lacking something. So the goimel, the deliverer, finds somebody that's lacking, that's like a bent over person, and bent over, I'm explaining that to be intuitive. So it's goimel dalim, but it really says that goimel, to give over to dalim, to people that on a lower situation. And then you can actually see that in the picture intuitively, that it's like a person that's bent over. So in English, actually, de is like the word good. So when is a person good? Is when they bestow, they give dalim to the people that don't have. So the first lesson we tell a child is how to connect to God through Torah. Second one is they have a mission to make a house for God by connecting the heavens and the earth. How specifically do you do that? Well, do acts of goodness. Give to people that don't have. Give charity. And you see that the dalet is like facing away from the Gimmel. They don't have to know that you gave them. One of the best ways of giving charity is when the recipient doesn't even know that they gave them. So that's goimel dalim, to bestow on those that are low. Is there a lesson from the word dalet itself? So letter dalet, the one that looks like an upside down L, the next letter. Well, we already learned that it's like dalim, a person that's like missing something, is like bent over. but the translation of the word dalis is like deles, which means a door. A door from the top. If you're looking at an open door from the top, not a closed door, an open door from the top, it's like it moved on its, it moved and opened up on it from the doorway. That's how it looks. And so the lesson from that, this is an intuitive lesson. When do you open doors? When you behave in a way that's like that, with humility, like you bend down. If you bend down, if you're humble, it's going to open doors. You're going to be able to connect with people, and you're going to be able to open doors. That is intuitive. Now let's go to the next letter. And the next letter is Hey. It looks exactly like a dalet, but it has a little handle at the bottom corner, and it has two holes, a wide hole at the bottom, and on the wall it has a small hole at the top. And this is what's written over here. What happens if a person erred? They went the wrong way, and they feel like they're blocked from all three sides, and the only way is down. In other words, they got like addicted to wrong behavior, wrong crowd, wrong surroundings, and they fell down. So what do they need to do? This is the lesson of the Hey. The Hey is you have to climb in through the small hole, and that is through the mouth. In other words, if you feel that your behavior is like going down, you have no choice, you feel like you're trapped, start doing something small. Change your words. Use your mouth, use good words, and then stay far away from the things that bring you back down, and start by using good words, speaking Torah, praying, being careful with the words you choose, and that's going to keep you up far, far from the hole at the bottom. Let's go to the next one. What is this long letter? It's called a Vav. What a Vav is, let's take a look at it again, this long letter, it looks like a hook. That's the meaning of the word Vav. Vav in Hebrew means a hook. And when you, as a word, it means and. And the first letter of every column of a Holy Torah scroll always starts with a Vav, because we're connecting, it connects the end of the previous column to the next column with a hook, because it means and. So that's a hook. And you're going to see when we look at the next letter, here's Vav and Zayin next to each other. Okay, the next letter is a Zayin. And if you looked at it, Zayin means a Kli Zayin, a weapon, because it looks like a sword. It looks like a sword. So what's the lesson, the intuitive lesson between a Vav and a Zayin? There's two things a person needs to do in their life. They need to bring things into their life. It's like a hook. And the other one is a Zayin, which means like a sword. They need to cut things out of their life. There's good things they need to hook in and bring into their life. That's the Vav. And there's other things, which are Zayin, they need to cut out of their life, which is a sword. These are two life skills for a child to know that sometimes they need to declutter, things are not good, and other things, like eating too much sweets, that you need to be like a Zayin. They need to, like scissors, you need to cut them out. And other things are good things, like reading books. Vav, it's a hook. You need to get hooked, like they say, on good things. What is the next letter? We've learned that. Now this letter is actually a Ches. In the Sefer Torah, trying to get it, that you can see. You see, this is a Ches. And in the Sefer Torah, it's written a Vav, a Zayin, in this type of writing of the Baal HaTanya, and a roof on top. Now the roof on top, it says in Shulchan Aruch that in the Code of Jewish Law, that roof on top reminds us, points to heaven, reminds us that God is living in the heavens and the earth. Ches is the 8th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it represents the 7 heavens and the earth. So when you make, and it looks like a little bit like a house. When you make a house, you need to have both aspects. You need to have a bob, a hook, and you need to have the scissors, the sword to cut things out. And then you need to remember about Hashem, God, that's making the house, is the roof of the house to hold everything together. A Vav is the sixth letter. Vav represents a man, and Zion is the seventh letter. It represents like Sabbath, in which you cut things out. And to put a man and a woman both, in order to make a house, you need both things. You need to be able to bring things in that are useful and take things out, declutter things that are unuseful. And both energies are very important. But what puts these two energies together? God puts these energies together, and that's represented by the roof. You see, on the seventh day, Zion is the seventh letter. On the seventh day of the week, the Sabbath, we actually cut things out. Like we cut out our phone, right? We don't use the phone because it's clutter, it's extra. Sometimes we need to disconnect from things. We need to have scissors and cut them out, like the shape of a Zion. And other times, we need to be like a Vav to bring things in. The 6 days of the week, we need to bring things in. Let's look at the next letter. That's a test. It has a base. It has a small little like handle, a yud on one side, and it has a Vav Zion on the other side. Now this one's a little test. Actually, I haven't found a translation in Hebrew for the meaning of the word test. But I looked up and I found that test represents, if a person sees a test in a dream, it's a good sign for them. A test represents the sphere of Yesod, which means connection. And how do you connect? How do you communicate with others? So you need to put words on paper to be able to communicate something. So the base, and this is intuitive, the yud on top, that's what's written, but the yud needs to have a base, a medium, like a letter or a board, and the vav also represents like a pen. They need to go onto the base. And another thing, I'll go back to contrast between a ches and a tes. The meaning of a ches, we didn't speak about the meaning of a ches. Ches in Hebrew means being bold to the point that it gives off fear. That's what ches means, like the word chitas. The fear of Jacob was on the people, right? Chitas elikim, the fear of Hashem. So ches represents fear. And if you think about it, a chayas is like an animal, a behemoth. And it's the shape of a square, like a square, squared off like a house, with 2 feet squared off. So that's the idea of instilling fear. But if you look at the test is a round letter, right? A round letter. So let's contrast that. When you are communicating with people, we need nice, round, pleasant communication. Nice, round, pleasant communication. When you're building a house, you need to have strong foundation. You need to have strong walls, a strong roof. But when it comes to communication, it needs to be rounded in a way that people can receive it. So that is the inner meaning of tes. Now we go to the small letter of yud. And a yud in Hebrew is like the word yad, which means a handle, a hand, a handle. So basically, if you do this process, let's go through it again. You connect to God through Torah. You understand that you have a mission to connect heaven and earth. How do you connect heaven and earth? By being good to the people that don't have. Good, God, good. To give things, to bestow, to give tzedakah, to give charity, to deliver to others. By being humble. When a person errs, they need to stay away, far away from what the triggers that gets them to fall down, and instead they need to start doing something small to get out of it by being careful with their words. Vav is the idea of there's certain things in life we need to bring in, hook in. Zayin is certain things we need to cut out. Then ches means we need to have a strong foundation of both things. to make a home, and Tes is the art of communication, rounded communication, where other people can actually receive what you're saying, and that gives us the Yud. The Yud means gives us a handle on everything, because we get to the essence. And that is the 10 basic building blocks, 10 basic building blocks of the idea behind them, what we're teaching the kids even before they start how to read. Just by the picture of the letters, we have life lessons. Now let's go on. Chaf. Now that chaf, it looks like a spoon. It looks like a C, an English C. But a chaf in Hebrew means a spoon or a palm of the hand. The palm of the hand, you know those Lego people, their hands, they look like chafs. It's a C. This is a chaf, chaf yad, a chaf of the hand. So what a chaf is the idea of the spirit. In other words, a person, before they can learn properly, they need to go into the right spirit. We spoke with Rabbi Smith many times that we need to have the right ruach, the right air, the right atmosphere that's conducive to learning. So what a chaf is, a person needs to go into the right atmosphere, surround themselves with the right atmosphere. We have also a longer chaf, right before my thumb, that is used at the end of words. Some of the letters, 5 letters in Hebrew, when we put them at the end of a word, they change slightly and they have a different meaning. A longer chaf in front of my thumb, it looks like a big upside down L, that's round at the back, is that once we've taken ourselves into a good atmosphere, we need to spread that atmosphere to others. So once we've gone into a good atmosphere, we also need to spread that atmosphere to others. And then we're ready to, let's look at this one, this long letter, Lamed. Lamed, we're ready to learn. Lamed means to learn and to teach. We're ready to learn when we're in the right atmosphere. That's why at the top you have this long, like a vav. You have a long vav because a teacher takes from high up and brings it down below to make it receivable by the student. And the Lamed, so we can ask a question. 1 second. Aleph means to learn. Aleph means to teach, and Lamed also means to teach and to learn. Well, there's a difference. When Lamed also means repetition till we're proficient. Melumad means being proficient. Repetition to be proficient. Whereas Aleph is to make a connection with God. With the Torah, we make a connection with God, and it's about the relationship. Lamed, it's about becoming proficient. So we learn, and actually, the letters are also intuitive on how we say them, because, for example, for Lamed, we actually have to point our tongue upwards. You have to point our tongue upwards to say that sound, Lamed. And then we're ready to learn. Now, the next thing is that Mem, we have a Mem over here underneath my finger, Mem at the beginning of a line and of a word, and a Mem, a closed Mem at the end of a word. Because you see, the first one's open a little bit, and the second one is closed for 4 walls on 4 sides. And what's interesting about that is that when you say the word Mem, it's an interesting letter. When you say it at the beginning of the word, you have to actually open your mouth, Ma. But when you say a M at the end of a word, you have to close your mouth. So it goes like this, Mum. Hey, Mum. So that's why at the beginning of a word, at the beginning, it's a Mem that's open. But then if we put it at the end of the word, it needs to be closed. And what's the lesson behind that? Well, Mem, you need to open your mouth and have a discussion about what you just heard from your teacher and what you learned. In order to really understand it and grasp it, you need to have a discussion. You need to talk about it. You even need to teach it. And then you need to, once you've talked about it, you need to close your mouth. That means the walls on 4 sides. Close your mouth with walls on 4 sides and think about it. Right? The next thing you need to do is close your mouth and think about it. And that's going to lead us to the next letter, which is Nun. And a Nun is this little vav with a foot. Sort of like a Gimmel. You see a little vav and a foot. The translation of the word Nun means fish. Yeshua ben Nun. means fish, and it's a live fish. You see, it has a head, and then it has the tail of the fish is moving side to side. It's a live fish. What is the idea of a fish? A fish is swims in the sea, and the sea in water, and it's covered up. What is the idea of something that's in water? It's like buried in water. It's hidden from regular people. You don't see it. So what happens is that if you learn and then you speak it over and then you think about it, you reflect and think about it, represented by the mem with 4 walls on 4 sides in your head. You think about it. You don't talk. Then you're going to come to nun, the fish. In other words, hidden things are going to be revealed to you. Hidden things will be revealed to you. And that's why nun is also the idea of a bracket. Like it looks like a little bit the side of a bracket. That this is actually written. And then once you've done that, a longer nun, which is written only at the end of words, a long one is now you can teach, bring it down, teach secret things, bring it down. Once you've gone from the process, you can use the long nun and bring it down. Now we're going to come to the next letter, which is a round letter, which is samech. Right? Samech. It's a round letter. And samech means the word to rely on, to lean on. It's like a column. It's like the shape of a column, where a column is round, and a column doesn't need anything else to lean on. It leans on itself. It stands alone, the column. So basically the lesson is, if you go through this process, you're now samech. We can rely on you. You're reliable now because you're following this process, and you're strong like a column. The next lesson, next letter afterwards, is an ayin. An ayin. An ayin in Hebrew means eye. In fact, it's very interesting. Those 2 heads actually like 2 eyes, and then there's an arrow in between them pointing downwards. Now, if you look in the English word eye, you actually have something very similar. You have an E-Y-E. And it sounds almost like iron, and it's almost like very similar. So the idea of E-Y-E is the 2 E's, is 2 eyes, and then you have an arrow pointing downwards. Now, why the arrow pointing downwards? There's 2 letters that have an arrow in Hebrew. One of them is an actual, the Gimmel, where the arrow is pointing upwards, because you make a sound of a Gimmel by moving the back of your tongue upwards to the G sound. And the way you make the ayin sound is you have to actually go deeper in your vocal cord downwards. So ayin. That's how you make the ayin sound correctly. So, but there's also another lesson over here, like brought down in Kuntras Aveda of the Rebbe Rashab, that a person's study won't have good effect on them unless they keep their eyes down. These ayin, 2 eyes, go down. Don't look at things that you're not supposed to look at, because you're going to bring down bad energy into your head, and you're not going to, and everything that you learned will not be effective. So things like it says that when we pray, the eyes need to be down and the heart needs to be up. So when it's something that's going to bring bad energy into us, is going to have a bad effect on our brain, is going to make our brain drunk, your eyes need to be down. Now let's go to the next one. Pei. A pei looks like a chop with a nose, right? So a pei, it's actually in Hebrew has a translation, and pei means extremity. Pei with a hey means a mouth, but pei with an aleph means an extremity. So a person, like it's, in fact, there's a lot of words in many languages with the word pen pei and nun, and like for example, point. The core letters in point is pn, and a pen to write with is a pn, and so pei in itself, pei aleph, represents an extremity. Like a nose can be an extremity. A mouth is an extremity because it has a tongue. It's an extremity, and especially then the voice goes out of the mouth. It's an extremity. So what a person needs to be careful with their extremities. I'm going to go straight to the tzaddik. We need to be a tzaddik with their extremities. And tzaddik is a righteous person, and you actually see that you can see various pipes. And the various pipes are connected out in a very specific way. And there's no wasted ink going in any other direction. And that is what a tzaddik is. A tzaddik doesn't waste energy into the wrong things. And all, like his pipes are being used and channeled in the right direction. So a pei means extremities. Tzaddik need to guard them like a tzaddik to put everything together, that they are actually used in the proper way and connect up in the proper way. And that is the idea what makes a person into a tzaddik. A langa tzaddik represents, it's like two different people and they're one at the bottom. In other words, you can have good relationships with people when you behave like a tzaddik. Now the next letter is a righteous person. Our next letter is a kuf. And a kuf looks like a kaif, like a monkey that climbed up a tree. A kaif means a monkey. So what happened is, originally there's a letter hey, but what happens if one leg is just going straight towards the ground, is going under the line, going towards the ground? In other words, a person's behavior is totally self-centered and selfish, like a monkey. Like, in other words, a monkey tries to copy humans, but when it comes to being self-centered, they can't overcome that nature, and they're totally self-centered. So what does a tzaddik need to do? A tzaddik needs to recognize that if they're not careful, they could always end up like a monkey. And another thing is they need to be next to the person who's like a kuf, like a kaif, to straighten him up, to guide the person who's behaving like a monkey to straighten him up. And that's what's going to make the tzaddik complete, as a kuf is even part of the spelling of the complete word of tzaddik, of righteous person. The next letter is a resh. And what resh in Hebrew means total poverty. It's like a circle. You know, life is a circle, a wheel. So what happens is this person slipped all the way down to the bottom to total poverty. So a person needs to remember that not to have trust in God. That even if he's on the bottom, he can end up rosh. It's like a circle. Rosh, he can end up as the head. Rosh means head. From the resh, from being total poverty, a person can go to the rosh, and not to give up when life is difficult, when there's challenging times and they feel they're at the bottom. Remember that trust in God, and you will get rosh. You will be able to go to the top. The next letter is a shin, and it's made out of three vavs connected, like three lines connected at the bottom. And shin in Hebrew means shein, which shein in Hebrew means teeth, a tooth. And actually, in the white of the shin, you can actually see like two teeth going down in the white part on the both sides of the three heads of the shin. Looks like teeth going downwards. So these three vavs represent three types of represent like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob joining together. Abraham is the idea of kindness. Jacob Isaac is Yitzchak is idea of focus and being strict, and Yaakov is the idea of compassion and creating a middle ground of both kindness and strictness and together, leading to the emotion of compassion. And what do we need to do? We need to work with other people together for one purpose. And that's another lesson in life. We need to work together with other people for one purpose, and we'll be creating like the wedge. And then we come to a tav, and I looked up what is the translation of the word tav, tav yud vav, and the translation is it means a stamp. So what do we mean by a stamp? Because the stamp of God is 3 letters, emes, which is truth. The first letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Aleph, the middle letter, the mem, and the tav spells emes, emet, truth, because truth is consistent in the beginning, middle, and end. So when the word tav is used, it's used as a mark. It is a stamp. And basically a way a person behaves puts like a visible stamp, a tav, on people's foreheads, which can be seen by the angels. And they can then recognize what the judgment of that specific person is, because according to his behavior, there is a stamp put on a person's forehead. So now we've gone through this work of this service, and we've done this service. Then we get the stamp of approval of Hashem that we're doing our mission. So let's do it really quickly again. Aleph, how do we connect to God? Through Torah. Base, our mission is to make a house for God by connecting the heavens of the earth. How do we do that? We have to be good. Good means we have to deliver things for people that don't have dalim. And also we need to be humble, and that will open doors. And then, hey, we need to remember, if we've erred, we need to climb in through the top hole, meaning to say we need to stay away from the triggers that trigger us in the bad way, and we need to at least start with something small. For example, our mouth. Start speaking the right things. That's going to help us to do the right things. Vav, then we need to connect, and Zayin, we need to cut away, and then we need to put it together, and that's what's going to make a house. But what's going to connect the two? The roof on top pointing to God. In other words, that God is everywhere, but He's also in the heavens. And then the next one is Tess. We need to communicate in a round way. Like the base is like a communication board, a writing board, and we need to communicate with others in a round way, as opposed to the ches, which is like squaring off. And yud, then we get to the handle on things. We connect to the essence. Then when it comes to learning, we need to chaf. We need to go into an atmosphere, surround ourselves in an atmosphere that's conducive, which is then and along the chaf we need to spread that atmosphere to others. Then lamed, then we need, that's a conducive. Now we can learn. We can bring from higher up and bring it down to the bottom, which is that it's learning. Mem, then we need to discuss it. Then shloss, closed mem, we need to close ourselves from four sides like a wall and think about it. Then nun, we reach the fish, the hidden things. And then longer nun, we can actually deliver those to other people. Samach, we become round like a pillar that we can be reliable on. We're reliable, but we have to remember that our eyes, we have to put down on the bottom and not look at inappropriate things. They're going to mess up everything that we did till now, because it's going to bring in bad energy. Pei means our extremities, and Langafe would mean all our extremities. I need to check that one out a little more, but that we have to make sure that we behave like a tzaddik. All these extremities, our mouth, and are all, we don't have any wasted energy. All the pipes are going the right way, and tzaddik, that makes us righteous. And then Langa Tzadikim gives us the relationships, the right relationships with other people. And then we need to remember, we could easily become a kite. We can still become a monkey if we at this point in time. And we need to bring the people that are behaving self-centered like a monkey. We need to bring them close. Reish, we need to remember when we're at the bottom with poverty. Reish means poverty. We know that we could end up in the Rosh, which the circle could turn, and we can end up being at the head at the Rosh. So don't give up. Shin means work together. Shin, it's like teeth, all pointing the same direction together. Work with other people in parallel together for one purpose, for one point, and you'll be successful. And the next one, Tav, we get the seal of approval of HaKadosh Baruch Hu on our forehead. And that is the Aleph-Bet, and the symbolism of the Aleph-Bet with life skills that we teach to the intuitive life skills that we teach children even before they learn how to read. Happy Lag BaOmer, happy celebration of Lag BaOmer. And I'm going to sign off now. I'm actually in a school now. This is the hallway of the school and at a bar mitzvah. So it's most appropriate that this lesson was taught in an actual school building where they teach Torah according to the rules of Kodesh in the holy way, according to the way that's been done. This Shavuos is going to be 3,334 years ago. The Torah and this was given to us on Har Sinai, the mountain of Har Sinai. All the best.